This episode is sponsored by Off the Beaten Path. Use code FEY10, that's FEY10, at checkout to get 10% off all of your music commissions. Thank you so much, Off the Beaten Path. Now please enjoy the episode.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Feyfinders, a Dungeons & Dragons podcast navigating listeners into the vague and supernatural. My name is Sam, and I will be your Dungeon Master for Campaign Elements, and playing with me today is the captivating Caitlin.
Why, hello.
The amazing Amancio.
Hello everyone.
And the jubilant Jupiter.
Well, hello there.
Now let us try to restore the elements.
Last episode, Luna, Anu, and Benny traveled deep into the frost-encased crater in the open tundra. After fighting off banshees and an ice shard Goliath, the party eventually came to a room that held a beautiful ice crystal garden. They broke the mirror in the center back of the room that held a green glowing orb, trapped and then effectively releasing the earth spirit from its long-lasting entrapment. Luna, Benny, and Anu were then swept into a vision of the past, where they saw a dark, smoky figure rise from a pit in the ground and speed toward a large mountain temple surrounded by a bustling city and lush forest, expelling a toxic sludge in its wake. After exiting the frost cavern, a small quake rumbled through the earth, and a small hill is now in the place of the crater. The party heads back to the town of Philovin, and after chatting with Massima about all that they had discovered, and with newfound resolve, have decided to venture into the other districts in hopes of unraveling the mysteries of the past, as well as end the centuries-long torment by releasing the rest of the elemental spirits. We open with Luna, Benny, and Anu standing in the town square preparing to make their decisions for their next steps in their quests to save the world.
Well, what do you guys think? My vote would be maybe that, Smiklen, the air place, or maybe, blast, what was the name of the water one? Maybe there? What do you guys think?
I'm not sure how fond I am of the idea of the extreme heat, so Smiklen is much more appealing to me than, say, our the more fiery, warmer option.
I really would love heat, but if you guys think Smiklen is the way to go.
It's just that I don't exactly own a pair of shorts, so it'd be a little difficult for me personally. I'm quite used to dressing in layers.
Okay, so Smiklen it is then.
Right, maybe I can buy some shorts there.
I'm sure we'll be able to find something.
It seems that we're all in agreement. Smiklen first, and then we'll see where we go from there. It's an air place. Maybe they have things that can fly, that can get us other places faster. Maybe we can avoid walking through a desert, or I don't know. I've never really been anywhere other than Fileven, so
It really is uncharted territory.
So we should all get our things together and prep to journey.
How long do you think you'll need to get everything together?
Oh, I should be ready to go by tomorrow. I just have to talk to Doran and let Doran know that I'm leaving the town's deceased in their capable hands, and that I might not be back for quite some time.
Alright then. We gather provisions, say our goodbyes, and meet back here in the morning.
Here first thing.
Okay, so you guys all head to your respective dwelling areas. Benny, you go back to the healer's hut and talk to Ro and start getting your stuff ready, doing a long rest. Jupiter, you go back to your own little cabin. And Anu goes back to see Dorian and to, again, like you guys are all going to take a long rest. Benny, you start walking up to the healer's hut, kind of like collecting yourself because you've made such a grand decision to go on this grand epic quest. You walk into the door and immediately you just hear Ro calling over from one of the stock areas and is like,
Benny, welcome back! How did it go? How was the open tundra? I missed you.
I missed you too. It went surprisingly well. It was difficult, but big things are happening. I've got news. Good news and complicated news. Which would you prefer first?
Well, anything that you say to me can't possibly be boring with news. Dealer's choice.
All right. We'll start with the good news. You watch as Benny digs into her satchel and pulls out the globe fruit, the apple, and stretches her hands out to Ro with the biggest grin you can possibly picture on a tiefling's face. I put soil on the ground, and well, there's this.
Ro just looks like wide-eyed and like literally jumps up and does this little like almost Mario style, Yahoo! Look at that! That looks insane! And just like grabs it from you, goes, grabs a knife, cuts it open, and like takes the seeds out, and it's just like has these apple seeds in the palm of his hand, and he's just kind of like moving them around in his palm and like sniffing them and just like admiring.
We have to plant this. Do you know how insane apple seeds are?
I only have a vague idea based on what was under the tundra, but I think they're the most delicious thing I've ever eaten. If you think we can grow them, I would love that.
Oh, well, absolutely not. These can't grow in this horrible icy wasteland, but we can certainly try.
Well, that's actually the perfect segue into the complicated bit. We made progress in setting the elements free.
And you can just see like Ro's face like tilt up at you. There's kind of like a glint in his eye like, oh, did you? You got into some mischief? You got into some crazy uncharted territories and is just looking like so proud and has a little like sideways grin like,
Did you now?
Yeah. It was a pretty big deal. And after talking to Massimo, Anu, Luna, and I have decided to go to Smiklen and see if we can make a difference there too. So if you have anything that you could spare me for the trip, I don't know how long I'll be gone, but this is something I know we have to do.
Benny, are you saying that you're leaving Philovin? You're going on a grand adventure?
and you can just see like Rose's face just kind of like drop and is like looks almost like scared for you, but also kind of like, oh yes, like more adventure, more mischief, more stuff is gonna happen, there's gonna be such good news, but is like visibly stressed about having you leave.
I genuinely understand your hesitation, but Dad, if we don't try, there might not be a next time.
And you can just see Ro take a big inhale very deep into his lungs and just kind of like exhale very slowly through his mouth.
I don't like it, Benny. You know, as much as we can have some fun and games here, the world at large is horribly dangerous. We haven't been in contact with anyone for centuries. And you want me to let my only daughter go off into the world that you're not prepared to go off into. And you want me to just sit back and let you leave?
I hate to be rebellious, but you can't say I'm not prepared. Here in Philovin, you've prepared me for everything. I've fought against hunger and cold and helped you heal. I know more than most books about the flora that grows in these areas here up in Philovin. And I have a thirst for knowledge, so I'm sure I'll learn many new things in the places we travel to. So I'm not completely unprepared.
Benny, you know this is the first time you've ever stood up to me? That you've ever made a choice that's so grand by yourself? I usually have to push you out the door. And now you're wanting to leave this whole part of the continent. I'm very conflicted with pride and disparity. But at least if you go, make sure to take a book and grab anything that you can that might be interesting, and any cool seeds and any cool things that can come back and we can study them, and make sure that you come back, Benny.
I will. And the world, our world, will be a better place for it. And I'll make a little flora scrapbook of all the places that we visit in our travels.
Wait right here.
And you see Ro kind of like scurry away deeper into this house, and you can kind of hear like things bumping off shelves and kind of like they're searching for something and just kind of like not being graceful about it. And then after a couple of minutes, they come back out and they have this beautiful leather-bound journal that has a tie string at the top and at the bottom. And it's got beautiful, intricate kind of almost like tree engravings into it, just as if it was pressed with a very blunt object to kind of leave these indentations. And they bring this book out to you and they say, "Write about your journey. I want to hear everything that you have to say when you return."
Absolutely. This is beautiful. Thank you.
And take whatever you need. We can always restock. I want you to be as set as possible. And he comes up and just kind of like puts his arms out as if you need to like crouch down to give him a proper full embrace. It's just like waiting expectantly.
Benny crouches down and wraps her arms around Ro. I'm gonna do everything I can to fix this and to come home.
I know you will, Benny. And he just like rubs your back and gives you one last tight squeeze, and then kind of goes back to the storage area and is like, "Now I have to get back to work, and especially with you not being here anymore, I'm gonna have to do double time labor, so go get where you're going, have a good night's sleep, and I'll leave a whole bunch of food out for you in the morning so you can have a hearty breakfast, and then I will have to go and do my rounds, because there's still some people who got a little bit too messed up during that earthquake." It was a shaky situation.
I'm gonna miss that.
It'll always be here when you come back.
I'm already looking forward to it.
And he just goes back to his business while you go and collect all of the things that you need for your journey. And then, Anu, you head over to the northern eastern side of the village, back to your dwellings with Dorian, and you can see that he's actually outside sharpening the shovel heads. So he's kind of just like sitting outside on a stone boulder and just like using a whetstone to sharpen the shovels as you kind of approach.
Dorian, how goes the shovel sharpening? Can I give you a hand here real quick?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Grab a whetstone and we have 3 more shovels, because I've been doing this all by myself, even though my back is still absolutely killing me. I have Ro coming tomorrow to check it out. I really shouldn't be working just now, but, you know, things gotta get done.
Right. Things certainly have to get done, and look, I need you to make me a promise here.
That sounds foreboding, and I don't like where this is going.
If your back's bugging you, please lie down or ask if someone can give you a hand with whatever it is that you're doing, because Dorian, I'm gonna have to take off for a little bit. I'm leaving Philoven.
He just kind of like stops and puts his whetstone down on his knee and kind of puts his arm on his hip as he's sitting there and got the shovel in the other hand, and just kind of looks up at you. "You are saddling me with all this work? By myself while my back is killing me? Ano, you really gonna leave me? My poor old back?" And you can see he's trying really hard not to laugh.
Listen, Dorian, I just, you've been getting soft lately, and I need you to really buckle up and push through the pain. I really want you to just, it's all in your head. It's like I've always been saying, your back is just fine. You just need to do some morning stretches and really just get over it.
You think I'm getting soft? He like throws the shovel on the ground, puts his arm up into a muscle, and he's like, "Feel that? I ain't soft in the slightest."
I don't know. Seems a little squishy to me. What if you drop someone? What then? Huh? What happens to respect for the dead when you drop them?
I have never in my 42 years dropped a cadaver.
There's a first time for everything. Right?
How dare you?
You know, much like with death, first time for everything.
Anu, are you trying to make me wish for you to leave?
I mean, it would certainly make things easier on both of us if we absolutely hated each other when I took off.
Well then, I guess I'll have to hate you.
I guess so.
He looks he looks at you with like this big grin, and you can see he looks pretty sad.
I'll really, really miss you and all of our friends here. But I'll be back as soon as I can. It's just that I mean, I really don't know what's going on, but it's something big. There's this, you know how the spirits have been gone for a long time.
Yes, 5 centuries.
Yeah, but a reasonable amount of time. Well,
some would argue.
It's possible that me and Benny and Luna, we might have found a way to bring them back.
Are you telling me that I won't have to clear a whole bunch of ice before I dig these graves?
That's exactly what I'm telling you, Dorian. I'm going out. I'm doing this for you. You know, these wet stones. You're gonna give yourself gangrene. You should at least dry them off before you sharpen the shovels.
Oh, kid, I'm gonna miss you.
I'll miss you too. But like I said, I'll be back as you won't even notice that I'm gone. You know, because you're gonna just power through with your back, and things are gonna fly by, and then I'll be back, and you won't even need me to dig anymore. You can just do it all yourself because there's no more frost on the ground, and then I can just sit and I can drink soup and give you moral support, and it'll be better than ever.
Oh no, Anu. You are mistaken, because I'm going to count the exact amount of days that you are gone, and those are the exact amount of days that you will be doing all of the work when you return. So get home fast, for both of our sakes. Actually, take your time. I deserve the day off.
You know what, Dorian? Maybe I will hate you when I leave.
I'll miss you, kid. I've always liked you.
Thanks, Dorian.
Take whatever you need from the house. I can always restock, but you are going into horribly catastrophic. You think that this is bad with the cold? Just wait. You won't even make it past the river.
The river? Which river?
The Great River. The river crossing to the districts.
It's a great river.
It is indeed. That is what it's called.
You don't happen to have a boat or anything, do you? Like one that packs down nice and small?
We don't have water. We have ice and snow.
But which are water, in a sense.
They're solid. We don't row.
I figured it was worth asking. Any advice, any sagely advice on crossing the Great River?
Don't fall in and don't die.
Thanks. I'll try not to do either of those.
Good, because I expect you back.
Yes, I know. To work off all the time that I'm taking off for my vacation. I understand.
Yeah, but also because I want you to be safe.
I will be, Dorian. Cross my heart and hope not to die.
Good. Keep that mentality.
I will.
And he kind of like looks at you, gives like a really curt nod, is still like smiling widely, like, oh, I'm looking forward to him coming back, but not too soon. And he just goes back to his shovel sharpening.
I help him out, and then I guess we get dinner prepped.
Yeah. And then Luna, do you want to do anything before we do our long rest and then prep for the morning?
Nothing like super specific, just that she goes back and like gathers every piece of cloth and like things that she has used for like scarves and gloves and whatnot and shoves them into her bag because she has no idea how cold she's going to be in this new place. And just kind of spends the night at home where she's lived her whole life and is very excited but nervous for the adventure ahead.
Okay, so you guys can all note your long rest. You take the night to just kind of enjoy the peace and quiet, get emotionally and physically and mentally prepared for all of the trauma that you're about to go through. And when the morning comes, you guys say your goodbyes to everybody, and you start heading to the east. Southeast, because everything is south from where you are. So you start heading down to the Great River Crossing. It takes a good couple of hours before you start to see the snow kind of recede like a little bit. It's not as crazy, but it's still very, very cold. And as you get to the Great River, you see that the water is an extremely fast-flowing current. And you distinctly notice that there is small chunks of ice floating down only one side of the river that is closest to the northern border. Across the river, you can see that the land has drastically changed. You can see dried up brown grass and clusters of tornadoes. There is no living thing in sight, no people or vegetation. And a few feet further up the river, you see that there is a precarious looking bridge. The wood is extremely worn down and the ropes look like they are on the verge of snapping. It is also abundantly clear that this bridge has not been used in centuries and it has never been maintained.
Well, here we are, the Great River that we should absolutely not fall in.
Does anyone else feel a little anxious looking at that thing?
I mean, I certainly don't feel safe.
Yeah, that looks rather precarious.
Who wants to be the first one across?
I have 50 feet of rope. Maybe if we take turns, going across kind of like single file, but holding the rope. That way if one of us falls in.
The rest of us fall in with them?
Well, I was thinking pull to shore.
I'm just a little worried about the current of the river, because if one of us falls in and gets dragged away and we're all tied together, I don't know that we could drag that person back, and then the rest of us might drift down the river too.
We don't necessarily have to be tied together. We could tie one end to the rope to this post, and then the person walking across the bridge will hold the rope, and if they fall in, they're holding the rope, and the post is holding the rope, and then the two on shore would just have to pull the person out. Maybe?
That could work, yeah.
I say let's try it.
It was my idea, so I'll try first.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
All right, Benny. Good luck.
Benny takes the rope out and ties it to the post at the edge of the bridge, really reinforcing her knots. And then she ties a few extra small knots in the rope so that if she were to start to slide, there's something that her hands can catch to instead of just sliding off the rope. And then she is going to lash the rope through her belt and pull it tight, knowing that when she's on the other side of the bridge, she'll untie it so that they can pull it back. And then she's going to approach the edge of the bridge and start onto it. Hesitant at first.
Okay.
Just like you can almost visually see her like doing the few deep breaths, like
finding that inner confidence. She's like, this was my plan. I should stick by it.
Perfect. Please roll me an acrobatics check.
All right. Well, first roll of the night, nat 20.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. So as you're walking across this little like rope bridge, it's very unsturdy. Every step you take, it's just creaking and starting to feel like your weight is like really precariously being placed on each of these boards. You feel like it swing a little bit as kind of it sinks deeper, just as you're walking. So it's getting pretty close to the surface of the water, and the current is just fast flowing so aggressively that great splashes are kind of soaking your boots as you're going past. And you make it onto the other side, and you get off the bridge, and you start to feel a little bit more secure, though the wind is going so aggressively, but you're still close enough to the bridge at the border that it's not affecting you as badly as if you were to continue forward. But your hair is starting to whip, your cloak is starting to bellow in the wind, and your hood is kind of being forced up and down with how fast flowing this air is.
So Benny tries to roll her hood under itself so that it stops smacking her in the face. And then she waves to Anu and Luna. So it's really fragile. Go slow, tread lightly. Here's the rope. And she unlashes it from her belt and tosses it onto the bridge so that they can pull it back to them.
Yeah, and you guys can easily pull the rope back.
All right, Luna. Do you want to go next?
And she looks between you and the bridge. Sure. Unless you really want to go.
I think I have the I'm a bit of a stronger guy. I carry corpses. If someone falls, I can catch them pretty well. So I think maybe I should stay here and I can go last.
Okay. Yeah, I'll go. And she ties the rope to herself and starts across.
Okay. Please roll me an acrobatics.
Rolled an 18 with a +0.
Okay, cool. So very similar to Benny, you get onto this bridge, and it kind of sinks into the water, or just above the surface. It kind of sinks and then is just above the surface of the water, and you're slowly making your way across. It feels like it's gonna break at any second. It's so creaky, and the wood kind of groans as you're stepping across. The ropes themselves feel super fragile, like they're made of just the thinnest type of thread. It just feels like the worst kind of dangerous situation. But you do make it across, and you stand beside Benny, and same thing happens to you as well. Like your cloak goes flying, your hair goes flying, everything just feels really uncomfortable with how much wind is going whipping around you.
Oh, I do not like this. And she unties the rope from herself and then ties it really tightly to the post on the other side.
All right, here goes nothing. And Anu ties the rope around his waist and slowly makes his way across the bridge.
And roll in acrobatics.
That's a 15.
Okay. So. Never a good sign.
Oh, no.
Okay, so So as you're starting to walk across this bridge, and it is groaning so heavily, it's pushing even closer to the water, and as you're kind of about halfway, as you're kind of about halfway over the bridge, you feel one of the ropes on the side start to kind of thin out, like individual strands are snapping, and all of a sudden one side of the rope bridge just collapses, and you still have one side, so the planks are sort of in the water being hit really aggressively from one side with the fast-flowing river. But there is still one side of the rope bridge that is hanging on for dear life, so you are able to, with a dexterity saving throw,
Oh boy.
to hopefully stand on top of the wood planks just on the top, where it's like a 2-inch surface where you can kind of stand.
Well, let's see if that happens.
Yeah, I hope so. I sure hope it does.
That's a 17.
Okay, you're good. Okay, so you are able to get your footing and kind of jump over onto these wood planks. Some of them have started to fall, but they are pretty close together, so you can just hop over. It's about a 5-inch gap between each plank, and you can kind of like hop over each of these 2-inch wide surface to make your way across the river, and you pop off on the other side, feeling like you could have just gone shooting down a non-stopping river.
All right. When we come back, we're going to have to find a different way across. Well, both because this isn't here anymore, and because I am not doing that again.
Fair.
I agree. Are you okay?
I'll survive. It's a little windy over here, huh?
Yeah, you can say that again. As Benny's like trying to clear the hair from her eyes for the millionth time.
It's impossible to do that. Every time you tuck some behind your ear, it just whips right back out.
Luna's just accepted it.
Fair. Benny will then untie the rope from the post on this side of the bridge and coil it back up and tuck it back into her bag.
Perfect. And so are you guys going to start walking deeper into the Air District territory?
Yes.
Yes, we will.
Phenomenal. So you cross the bridge, and the wind is instantly upon you, bearing down in catastrophic gusts. You have walked further inland, and it almost seems like you passed an invisible barrier with how aggressive these winds have picked up as you're going further. I need all of you also to roll a dexterity saving throw again.
Oh boy. 19.
Okay.
Also 19.
Also
Gorgeous.
19.
That has never happened in the history of Fayfinders, where
Oh my
everybody has
God.
gotten the exact same number. I'm so proud of you guys. We made history. Okay, beautiful. So you see all around you that there are swirling tornadoes running about 65 kilometers per hour. Though the wind is swift and the chill has a bite to it, the temperature is about 5 degrees Celsius, which compared to the far below zero climate that you're accustomed to, feels like kind of a warmer spring day. Though there is little comfort in it. It is perilous, and you guys are being whipped around aggressively.
Do you think that this ever stops? Oh, the sand in my eye again.
Something tells me it really doesn't. I'm kind of missing the cold and the snow at this point, and Anu's feet get like swept up, and he kind of struggles to find his footing again.
Yeah, you guys are being whipped around aggressively, though you haven't been picked off the ground, you guys were able to kind of keep most of your footing. Every once in a while, as you're taking a step, you kind of like have a little bit of air time where you're swept up off the ground and then kind of like find your way back onto even ground. But it is rough. You can see little pockets of tornadoes just kind of every couple of feet. So you're kind of having to like dodge them as well as you go.
I never thought I would say that I miss the cold, but I agree. I don't like this at all.
I don't know how they live here, truly. I mean, I'm assuming there are people that live in Smiklen.
I would assume so. Though, to be fair, I didn't think to ask.
Do we know if we're headed in the right direction? I mean, I don't know where we're going.
Did any of us grab a map?
You just watch Benny look down at her shoes and push some of the dirt around like, oh my gosh, how did none of us think of this until now?
That's true. Nobody said that they wanted to look for one.
It's okay. It's okay. We'll be fine. If we just walk in a straight line, or at least as straight as we can under these conditions, eventually we have to run into a town, right? Right?
I don't know if we can walk in a straight line right now.
Look, I said as straight as we can.
Honestly, I think between the three of us, we have some pretty crazy dumb luck. I mean, we found that cavern, and we all crossed the bridge. I think if we just keep going forward, we'll find something.
I think you're right, Benny.
So as you are continuing to walk, it seems like forever, and it's even slower goings because of how aggressive the wind is. It's kind of keeping you off balance, though you're able to avoid these tornado pockets. You continue to walk as further southeast as you can in the straightest line that you can, and you eventually come into sort of not as aggressively tornadoed area. So it's kind of like all of the tornadoes were sort of like maybe 10 feet apart from each other, and you did really, really well avoiding getting swept away by them, but they are very tightly pocketed. You come to kind of this more open space. It's still really windy and very aggressively kind of whipping your clothing and your hair around. But it seems now that the tornadoes have kind of separated to maybe being like 20 feet apart, and it's just kind of in this one little like square area. And can somebody please roll me a perception check?
Sure thing. It's a 9.
A 9?
Yeah.
Oh man, the wind is just blowing in your eyes so aggressively you kind of have to blink a bunch so tears clear from your eyes, because you just can't see anything.
Could I try to make a perception check?
Sure.
17.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you're kind of walking, you kind of like put both hands and like move your hair out of your face and kind of hold it just like on your forehead because you're like, can't see anything. And you kind of peer around this little space, and you can see that there is a small mound with a little opening in the ground. And so as you kind of like get closer, it looks like, how can I best describe it? It's kind of like a very small, tight cave opening. It looks like you'd have to like crawl in there to be able to get down, and it looks pretty like a steep drop, and you can't really see too well because it is quite steep going down, and also it is pitch black. but there is a small, like, mound opening. It's about 3 feet wide, so you would absolutely need to go in flat.
There's a cave of some sort over there that maybe we could find shelter?
I mean, at least to get our bearings and get out of this wind.
Yeah. Let's try.
Alright, follow me if you need to hold my hand or anything, if you're having trouble seeing.
Oh man, you can't. It's like you literally have to be like on your flat body.
Oh, okay.
Like, yeah, you'll have to like go in like almost like a slide kind of situation, like either head first or feet first, and like as flat as you can make yourself.
Benny, upon like inspecting the entrance, would lay down on her stomach, press her face a little bit into the hole, and then cast dancing lights to see what she sees in there before she just dives in.
Yeah, for sure. So you kind of get down on your hands and knees. The grass is really rough and feels itchy as it scrapes across your exposed skin. You cast dancing lights into the tunnel, and it just looks like a chute that goes down. Like, it looks like a slide made out of dirt.
Does it look quite steep?
Yes.
Okay. Well, good news, looks like a slide. Bad news, looks like a slide where we'll break something. I learned feather fall, so as long as we slide in rapid succession, I can slow our descent. But if you get 60 feet from me, it won't work.
Oh, all right. I guess it's all together.
All together.
And are you guys going feet first or head first?
Benny's gonna slide in feet first.
Anu's going feet first.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure. So, Benny, you cast Featherfall, and you guys all kind of, like, shimmy your way down into this, like, steep slide entrance. So, you roll down this narrow hole into a steep drop. As your Featherfall has softened the descent, you are going slow enough that when the slide ends and there is an abruptly flat entrance, or sorry, an abruptly flat exit into a plateau of compacted dirt, you don't have what would have been quite hard bash onto the ground. You easily kind of float down and exit into this open space. There is a single dim lantern to illuminate the tunnel. The space is quite large now, with the ceiling going up about 17 feet, and the walls are about 15 feet apart. It's comfortable enough for you to walk side by side without feeling squished. So you can see that there is a very large tunnel as well, going deeper into this cave space, and it's very large. So it exited into this almost like long hallway.
So, do we want to get our bearings here and rest a bit, or push on?
I'm ready to keep going if you two are. I think the only real way out is forward, unless we find a way to scale our way back up the slide.
Yeah, I'm not gonna climb back up that.
It was about 17 feet long slide. Because the ceiling is now 17 feet high. So it would be a lot.
All right. 4 minutes it is.
Sorry.
Why?
Super good sign. Super good sign.
No, I'm excited. This is the best part. Okay. So you walk into the tunnel, and you're walking for quite a good amount of time. You know, it feels like this is quite a deep, cavernous space. The environment doesn't change, though. It is much warmer down here. As you're walking, it feels like, with all things considered, it's probably about a comfortable 17 degrees Celsius. And for the Americans, that is like a nice spring, almost summer day.
Thank you, I was about to Google it.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know what the actual conversion is, but it's like 23 is like a nice hot summer day. 17 is like a nice going from spring to summer day. And as you're walking down this tunnel, you're walking for maybe about like 15 minutes. And somebody can roll me a perception.
I didn't last time, so I'll try this one. Oh, maybe I shouldn't have. 5.
Everything is just incredibly new to you. You are so enamored by how warm you feel, and you're just so interested in, like, you touch the wall, and it's like powdery dirt. It's not like the harsh compacted earth that you are used to under the thick layers of ice and frost in Philovin. This is like, you can touch it and you can feel almost like a dusty, soily kind of sensation as you're walking in. So you're so transfixed by this that nothing else matters to you right now.
Are there like any roots or anything sticking out that Benny would be like curious to be like, maybe I should trim some of that off for Ro? Or
not in this area that you can see.
Can I roll a perception check?
Yeah, for sure.
That's a 16.
Perfect. So, you walk through the tunnel, and suddenly you hear footsteps coming from ahead of you. There sounds like there's about 4 sets of feet coming towards you at a rather brisk pace.
I don't think we're alone in here.
what? Did you see something?
Eyes up, everyone. I hear someone coming. Or more people. A thing? Something. Can I cast light?
Sure.
Yeah, I cast light and I put it on my my staff.
Yeah. So as you're doing that, you can see ahead of you 4 figures coming into view, eager looking. Like they were expecting someone, until they see you. They look more closely at you. And then they stop with grim expressions and blades made out of thick bones and iron aimed at your direction. The person in the closest proximity to you, heading the front of this little group, who is a hardy-looking dwarf with dark brown hair so deep that it almost looks black, and has a braided beard that is decorated with metal rings, and speaks to you. Who are you folk? Answer quickly and concisely, or taste the pointy end of my blade.
We're visitors from Philovin.
From where?
Philovin? To the north, across the great river yonder.
We haven't seen anyone in 500 years. What makes you think we believe you that you're not trespassers coming to do great evil and harm in our midst?
Well, I'm a priest.
I'm an alchemist. I specialize in the herbs of Phylevin. I can show you some of what I brought with me if you want visual proof.
You stay where you are, little one. As he looks up at you and is pointing his bone blade a little bit closer in your direction.
Benny at this point is like visibly holding her breath. She's just like,
What be your names, trespassers?
Anu Har Yelrin.
I'm Benazir, Castra. But most people just call me Benny.
I'm Luna Solaris.
And what brings you here down to Smiklen?
I think before we tell you anything, maybe you should tell us who you are.
Well, and he bangs his chest with his fist that he doesn't have wrapped around this bone blade. He says, I am Thrush. This, and you see a green dragon born, is Breach. This, and he nods over to a high elf, is Talia. And that, he points over to, or gestures rather with his thumb over his shoulder, to the Yuan-Ti. That is Betty.
Well, it's a pleasure to make your acquaintance. Could we perhaps put the pointy killing implements down? I know how to give last rites and everything, but I'd prefer not to today.
That'll remain to be seen. Well, we'll have to see about all this then. He gestures to his companions. Let's take them to Galvatona. And we'll be taking your weapons for now, if you don't mind.
Doesn't seem like we have much of a choice.
Not really. Penny pulls out her sickle and her dagger, and she just like sets them on the ground. No mishaps. I don't want to hit anyone with the pokey end. And then she pulls out her short bow and sets that down as well.
Good. And then he looks over at you, Luna, and is waiting expectantly.
All I have is my staff.
Well, then you best add it to the pile.
She takes like a really deep breath and seems very angry about not having her staff and sets it down with Benny's weapons.
All right, now back it up a little bit. And then you can see Talia come up and kind of gathers up the weapons very delicately. You know, she's trying to like be gentle with them as much as possible, and kind of like looks at you guys as she's picking all these weapons up, and then goes back over to Thrush. All right, let's go. And he like opens like the four of them part a little bit so that you can start walking towards and with them. Thrush and Breach start walking ahead of you while Talia and Batty are kind of watching you from behind as you guys are kind of like encased in this barrier between these four people, They lead you deeper into the cave, weapons still pointed at you from the back. The path ends, and you are suddenly in a large underground village. The air is thick with the smell of herbs and meats. The houses are made out of clay and smooth rocks of every color, glittering in the torchlights that are embedded into the ground and stationed every 5 feet. And there are deep wells that have solid clay walls around them and ceramic buckets hanging on metal rods ready to collect water. These people seem to be very lively and cheerful, though those who look in your direction glare suspiciously and questioningly as you pass. You are led to the furthest eastern side of the town, and Thrush gestures grandly to the space and says, "Welcome to Smiklen. We hope you enjoy your stay with us. Now kneel. Batty, tell Galvatona we have some outside visitors." And the Yuan-Ti hurriedly slithers into a large house with a roof made out of all different gemstones, from amethyst to topaz to chrysocolla. And shortly after, a very tall Air Genasi woman with a huge bone longsword tied to her waist comes out and peers at all of you with great scrutinizing gray eyes. "What is your purpose here, outsiders? Not in 500 years have we seen the likes of the North, or the worshippers of the Earth Spirit in our midst."
We're here to reawaken the air spirit.
And how do we know that? How do we know that the Earth worshippers weren't the ones who caused this blight?
Sorry, which blight is this?
The blight of the abandonment.
Oh, you mean the blight of 500 years ago?
Yes, that's the one.
Well, I suppose I can't say objectively that we didn't. History is a fickle thing. But I know that I had nothing to do with it. I don't think Benny, Luna, did you guys have anything to do with it?
I didn't have anything to do with it.
Oh gosh, no.
But what if I told you that perhaps we weren't abandoned by the elements, but someone, a higher power perhaps, hid the elements away? That no one did anything to cause it.
I don't think that I can believe you. We're talking about the Earth Spirit, the Earth Worshippers, and suddenly out of nowhere a couple of weeks ago, we had a massive earthquake.
It was here too?
Opening up a whole new cavern. Destroying some of our village. And you're going to tell me that the Earth Worshippers had nothing to do with this?
We had a similar earthquake in Philoven, and well, it was because of that we were able to free the Earth Spirit.
Well, isn't that convenient?
I mean, it was, but we didn't cause the earthquake.
We'll have to see about that.
Benny asks, or puts her hands up in the air, like, before she asks, puts her hands up, like, in a, like, modus surrender. I have something in my bag that might change your mind if you'll permit me to grab it. No funny business.
No funny business. And she does take her very long bone blade out from where it was sheathed at her side, and she, like, looks at it, and then she looks at you. Slowly now.
Of course. Benny slides her satchel around in front of her and opens the top of it and reaches in and opens one of her little jars. And she had stuck the petals of the petals of the flowers she had picked in the cavern in there, and she pulls out a few of the petals, places them on the ground in front of her, puts the cap back on her bottle and puts it in the bag. And then she takes the petals that are still, though been picked or like plucked, they aren't as beautiful as they once were, but they haven't been away from the plant long enough for them to be dried, so they still retain some moisture. And she places them like at arm's length on the ground in front of her.
And you see Galvatona kind of like peer down at them.
Those I picked from blossoms in a cavern beneath Philoven just the other day. They grew where nothing has grown in 500 years. The earth spirit was trapped. And we fear the same for the air spirit here. We just wanted to make a difference.
Listen, our respective communities, all the regions, the territories, we've been isolated from each other for 500 years. We would only make this trip if we thought that we could do something about the blight, do something about the abandonment. We've been living like this. You here in Smiklen, and us in Philoven, we've been scraping by. We've been braving harsh conditions, and we're here to try to make things better for all of us. And I understand the trepidation. I really do. But at the same time, we're here to try something new, to try to make a difference.
You mentioned before that you also had a earthquake happen in your village.
It was on the 500th anniversary of the abandonment, or blight, as you call it.
And did you discover anything in your own earthquake?
We did. And it led us to a glacial mountain where we were able to free the earth spirit. Why? Did you discover something?
Perhaps, but I don't want to lead you into an answer. Tell me what happened directly after the earthquake.
Directly after the earthquake, there was a new cavern in the village that, oh, sorry, I'm nervous. And she's like, starts like pulling her cloak forward like she's fanning herself with it. It opened a cavern, and there was a tunnel, and then when we went in the tunnel, our grand matron was there, and there were like books. There was books, right? And she like looks to Anu and Luna for confirmation. She's now panicking.
Yes, there were books and a painting, a mural on the wall.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Look, this mural, it led us to a mountain, and near that mountain was another cave sealed away, and we were able to, we found the earth spirit. It was trapped, and it had been trapped by someone, something, some force that wanted this to happen, that had something to gain from 500 years or more of subjecting all of our people to a horrible, horrible existence.
Perhaps I might be inclined to believe you. Would you follow me? And Galvatona starts to just walk without looking back at you guys, waiting to see if you'll follow. Thrush is kind of like gesturing his head towards her like, you should probably follow, and waits for you guys to start walking and who follows from behind you. Galvatona starts to walk further east, farther even past where her house is, and you can see that there is a very large hole in one of the solid dirt walls, and the entrance is about 15 feet away from her dwelling, and there are 2 guards that are standing in front of this opening. They regard Galvatona, and she gestures with a curt nod as she enters, and these 2 guards just kind of eye you as you follow with her. So you walk and see that there is a very similar door to the one that you saw in the tunnel in Philovin, and it is ajar. You walk into the room and you can see that it is another acolyte chamber that looks almost identical, except for the mural, which depicts a great mountain just outside a large village. The grass is green and beautiful, and there are ample bushes with blue, black, and red berries on them, as well as huge green bulbs coming up from low leaves with long vines. And these large, sort of oval-looking fruits have mixtures of green on them, so they're striped with darker greens, and there is a solid green color that is the majority of the circumference. There is also streaks of white and light blue swirls that look as though it's depicting a gentle breeze grazing over the land.
It's nearly identical to the one we found in Philovin.
This is beautiful.
Luna gestures to the mural and asks, "Where is this? Do you know where this is depicting?"
Indeed I do. It is about half a day's walk further southeast. It's where our old village was before it was destroyed and we had to move underground because of the tornadoes. The mountain that used to be there is now just a crater. Some people have ventured over there, but the wind is too fast flowing, and it's been impossible to investigate.
It sounds to me, if what's happening here is like what happened over in Philovin, it sounds like that's where the air spirit is trapped.
The Blight was never supposed to be about potentially people intervening with the spirits. You're trying to convince me that an outside force that was not of our making was the one who destroyed our world? That's pretty far-fetched. The Blight is a result of our wrongdoing, as some would say. Personally, and a lot of us believe, that it was something to do with the Center Continent's district. They were the ones who were supposed to be the power of us. They were the ones who were supposed to be the people who were taking care of this world. They were the place of harmony. If something went wrong, it was on them. They were supposed to be doing the absolute maximum work, the maximum amount of effort to keep things in peace, to keep our world from going into this disaster. And they didn't. So you're trying to tell me that it was an outside force?
It would seem that someone had something to gain, like I said.
We don't know who to point fingers at, and after 500 years, they probably aren't around to point fingers at anyways. But if we can make a difference and release the air spirit, isn't that worth it?
Only if you get it right. Otherwise, you're traipsing through Eastern territory without being asked to do so.
just said so yourself. It's a barren place with hostile winds. Really, the way I see it, it's no sweat off your back if we disappear walking that way. We're not doing this to be harmful. We're doing this to be helpful.
And what if you make it worse?
You're already underground. The skies out there are wild. I've got more dirt in my eyes in the past couple of hours than I think I've ever seen in my life. Do you really believe it could get any worse than being underground with earthquakes?
Yeah, I do think that it could get worse with more earthquakes if you people from the Earth territory are going to be mucking about on my land. It does seem suspicious. I will concede that this acolyte chamber looks the exact same as the one in Philovin. And one of you can roll an investigation check.
I can do it.
Yeah.
Natural 17 plus 2 for 19.
Beautiful. So as kind of Benny and Galvatona are sort of in this almost heated back and forth, you're kind of peering around the room and you see that there is another journal that looks quite similar to the kind that was in Philovin in the Acolyte Chamber. You kind of walk over without trying to gain any attention. You open the book and you see again that a lot of it has been kind of rotted away. So you can only make out a couple of sentences, a couple of words. And it reads, "They can't truly be ... to invoke ... the unrest is growing ... we need ... someone needs to take control. I fear for ... this cannot stand."
After reading it, Luna just kind of goes, "Have you looked at any of these journals?"
No, they're all rotten away.
I mean, yes, but you can still see some of the words, and it might tell you a story. It told us one, and sent us on our adventure.
She goes over and very unceremoniously, grabs the journal from your hand. Some of it starts to kind of, some of the pages flutter out, as she's been so aggressive with it, and kind of holds it up with one hand, looking at the words. Exactly, it was the center part of the continent that did it.
When we freed the Earth Spirit, we heard a voice, and it said, "Thank you, but this is not the end." Why, if the Spirit left on purpose, would it thank us for freeing it and tell us that we had more to do? And she just, maintains eye contact with her.
And she stares you down and she says, "I don't know, girl. If you're hearing voices, that doesn't sound like a good sign to me."
I mean, would you prefer to be in this cave for the rest of your life and every generation after you? Or would you like to do something about it?
We're pretty well off down here. I don't know about Philovin and how you guys have been handling this, but we're doing just fine without outsider intervention. And you can just see, the pride radiating off of her. She is, not gonna back down from you and is locked in this eye contact.
Right, because it was your willing choice to move down here and not the destruction of your village brought about by the abandonment.
The blight happened because somebody got greedy and didn't do their job to keep harmony continuing. That is not on us, but we've made just fine down here.
Isn't harmony at its base level, though, a group effort? Shouldn't everyone have to work together to find harmony? You can't let your left hand smack somebody while your right hand shakes their hand and expect it to be okay.
Roll a persuasion. And you can have advantage because you and Anu were like tag teaming.
All right. Thank goodness for the advantage.
That took me from a 12 to a 19.
Oh, beautiful. You can kind of see her like reluctantly concede. I suppose my people would be missing the open air as we were intended to be. But that doesn't mean that we haven't done a damn good job keeping everything going despite the catastrophe. And I will not have you guys, outsiders, tell me that I haven't done a good job keeping my people together despite this blight.
We're not here to criticize the resilience of Smiklen, but you can understand why we might be feeling a little standoffish considering the reception we've received.
We can't quite blame us, can you? We haven't been seeing any outsiders in 500 years.
No, but like Benny said, harmony is a group effort by its very definition. You can't be in harmony alone. You have to be in harmony with everything, with everyone.
Well, I can't rightly disagree with you there. Fine. You have my permission to go further southeast to see where the old mountain was. Good luck, though. The tornadoes further out there are worse than the ones you were coming in from.
You wouldn't happen to have a map, would you? That's a mistake we don't really want to make again.
A map would be very
A map
useful.
of the continent?
A map of the route to the mountain, the crater.
You can't miss it. It's literally under a tornado that is going from floor to sky.
Great. So that like a beacon of destruction and death.
Essentially.
Wonderful.
Like I said, good luck.
But since you brought it up, do you happen to have a map of the continent lying around?
Did you not hear my sarcasm when I was asking? We've been underground for 500 years. How would we know what's going on with anybody else? We haven't been in contact.
At this point, even a 500-year-old map would be better than nothing.
Perhaps. Go over to Braun at the tavern. He might have something for you. He likes old relics. It's called the casket.
Anu, you'll feel right at home.
If anybody gives you trouble, just say Galvatona said you are allowed to wander. Don't expect a lot of warm reception, but at least they'll give you service.
Thank you, Galvatona. I know this is a big trust fall, but we truly want what's best for the whole continent.
Then I'll believe you. But I expect to see results. Come back through when you're done. Tell me how it went.
Well, we will if we live to tell the tale.
Good, you have a sense of humor. You'll need it. And she kind of like gestures for you guys to leave.
Can we have our weapons back, please?
Yeah, go find Talia.
Thank you.
But keep them sheathed while you're in my city.
Of course.
Right, onto the tavern.
To the casket.
Yeah, so you guys walk out of the tunnel that led into this other acolyte chamber. You go out and you can see that Talia is still kind of like standing beside your weapons that she kind of placed on the ground. Looking like nicely laid out. And she's just beside beside Galvatona's house. And she's just kind of like standing there using a little dagger to pick her nails.
Talia, right?
Yes.
Galvatona said we could take our weapons as long as we keep them sheathed within the city.
Then you may take them.
Thank you for being so gentle with them. And Benny picks up her things.
I have to respect a good weapon.
Luna picks up her staff and like inspects the garnet to make sure it's not broken.
It looks like it was very well taken care of, like gently placed on the ground and watched over while it was out of your possession.
Upon seeing that it's fine, she gives a nod and a small smile to Talia.
And Talia nods back at you and says, "They're quite nice weapons for not being made here."
Do you happen to have anything that might be better suited for anything we might face up there that was made here?
Well, if you want the best weapons, of course they're all made from Smiklen. We have an incredible forge and the most magnificent smith.
I was just about to ask. Thank you.
He is a grey orc. You'll find him just down the way from the casket.
Would you guys, and Benny looks to Luna and then to Anu, want to stop by Grit's place after we go to the casket?
Yeah, better be prepared. I mean, if the cave in Philoven was any sort of indication, we might not find this crater to be empty.
Yeah, and I mean, no offense to my sickle, and she touches it while it's still in her belt. I would love if I could get my hands on something that could hit, a little harder in close quarters.
So you start heading in the direction that Talia had indicated to. Are you guys trying to go to the forge first or the tavern first?
The tavern first, I think.
Yeah.
Perfect. So you start heading down the street. Again, you're met with all of this really lovely spice and herb smells, along with a bunch of different meats that you've never kind of seen or smelled before. You're making your way and you're getting a lot of really weird looks, particularly now that you don't have any guards or anyone around you. People are kind of like inching a little bit closer, inching a little bit back from you, like really scrutinizing and like seeing what's going on with these outside people. And as you're making your way, you see this big clay building with an entirely topaz roof. It's like glittering, really vibrant, like orangey, yellowy colors in the firelight. And you see in a wood sign that's been, what's it called? Burned. The letters have been wood burned into this plank, and it says the casket, and the words, or the letters rather, are all very crooked and kind of like, it doesn't look like a nice sign, it looks like an effective sign. There is no actual like door, it's just kind of like an archway made out of this clay material. So you can just walk right in. There's no like barrier or anything.
Perfect. So Benny kind of like timidly walks towards the front door and takes a really big deep breath as if like preparing herself for more scrutiny, and then walks in.
Anu walks right up to the bar and says, what's the best soup on the menu?
And you see this little gnome, you see the top of someone's head, just this really kind of dark brown hair pop up onto the stool and kind of peek up over at you and says, "Rabbit."
You have rabbit? I'll take 2 servings of the rabbit stew, please. And 2 more for my friends.
Or we have rat.
I think we're good with rabbit, actually.
Or we have mole.
You tempting again, but rabbit sounds quite delicious.
Or we have meerkat.
I feel like I've ordered already.
Or we have muskrat.
I think rabbit sounds the best.
Yeah. All options considered, rabbit is my preference. Benny?
Rabbit sounds delightful. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
4 orders of the rabbit stew, please.
With turnips.
Yes. Yes, please.
Or potatoes.
Or
Carrots.
I feel like rabbit and carrot is. I'll take 1 of the potato and 1 of the carrot, please.
Is it an option to have all 3?
I could be persuaded.
And what would it take to persuade you?
Do you have any treasures from around the globe, weary travelers?
1 sec. Let me check my bag.
Any perhaps ancient relics of old?
You want an ancient relic in exchange for stew?
I was also going to ask if you wanted anything to drink.
I see.
We have ginger root beer.
And?
Oh, that's it. We just have the one.
Oh, right.
Wonderful. Easy choice.
Do you take gold?
Do you have gold?
Yes.
Do you have any ancient relics? Or other curiosities that might pique my little interest?
I have a candle and some incense.
Those are easily obtainable depending on the smell. What kind of smell do you have?
Oh, I have the finest winter pine smell from Philoven. I didn't see any trees around here. I'm sure you don't have pine incense.
I'll take 1 incense in exchange for the beer, and I will take 5 gold for all of your ordering of the soup.
All right, 5 gold it is, and I place 5 pieces of gold and a stick of incense on the counter.
You see him like grab it really in such a jerking motion, put it to his nose, and then drag it across the bottom of his lip to take a big inhale, and he sniffs.
Good trade. next door? 5 soups and a ginger beer.
And you see him kind of like pop off this stool and like scuttle back into this like back sort of kitchen area that also doesn't have a door, so you can kind of see in and see this big like pot in the middle of the floor with a big fire just underneath it and a small metal grate just laying on top, so that the pot and the fire are slightly apart. And you see this other dwarf with lighter brown hair and no beard stirring this big pot.
Sorry, are you Braun?
And you see this little gnome pop back out, just his head through the kitchen door. Yeah.
Galvatona told us that you might be just the fellow to help us procure a map of the continent.
That's quite a big trade to ask. It'll take more than incense to get one of those. Not guaranteeing that I have one that I'm willing to part with. What do you got?
Benny starts like frantically digging through her bag, trying to decide like what she can part with and what she's willing to hand over. And she comes across her last apple, and she pulls it out of her bag and she places it on the bar.
And you see this little gnome kind of like scuttle back over and jump up onto his stool behind the counter and grab the apple and look at it and sniff it and like knock on it to test its like if it's hollow or like what does it feel like listening to it.
That'll do it.
And he takes a big bite and then takes out all the seeds and plops the seeds into his pocket and then eats the rest, core and all.
That was quite delicious. Alright, I'll be right back.
That was the last one I had. So, congratulations.
How kind. I'll be right back.
And you see him like pop off of the stool and like scuttle back into the kitchen. And you see Hector kind of like move his head around to kind of like peer down deeper into this room. Like, what is this guy doing? And then kind of like on really rushed feet, you have Braun coming back up and popping up onto the counter again and very delicately rolling out this ancient looking map. It looks like it's been teared at the sides and almost like burned around the corners. It looks like it has started to fade with age. It looks like it's smudging really bad with damage to it, like it hadn't been kept very well until it became in Braun's possession, and it looks like he's been taking really good care of it, but just because of the age of this piece of paper, it looks really rough. And he rolls it out so gently, and you see a huge outline of the continent with a lot of like almost like what we would consider to be like coffee stains, but they're just like little patches of like dirt, so it's kind of blocking out some of the map, so you can see Smiklen pretty well, and where like an outline of where a mountain should be, and you can see Philovin pretty well. You can see about half of Ivriel, and you can see essentially nothing of Lilival, and you can only see like the tiniest bit of Doverive, which is the center district. And Lilival is the fire district, and Ivriel is the water district.
Thank you. This must have been quite a rare find. Thank you for trading.
Take good care of it.
We will.
And as you guys are chatting, Hector brings out all of the 5 bowls at once and places them in front of you guys. And then brings out 1 ginger beer.
All right, let's see what the Smiklen soup is made of. And I slurp back 1 bowl all in 1 gulp.
It's delicious. It tastes like saffron and paprika. It tastes of things that you couldn't even imagine. It tastes like thyme and dill. There's so many different herbs and spices and different flavors all kind of mingling to give you this slightly spicier but not overwhelming flavor. And it's very rich and thick, like almost like a gravy broth kind of texture. Not quite that thick. It's still able to be a soup. You know, it's still drinkable, but it's very thick and very warm. And the rabbit tastes distinctly different from the Arctic hares that you guys are used to.
No offense to Lyric, but this is unreal.
It tastes so good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Let's see how the ginger beer fares. And I take a sip of the ginger beer and I kind of swish it around in my mouth and don't quite spit it out and swallow it.
Well,
it tastes so much like ginger, like just pure ginger root, that it's kind of hard for you to drink it because it's so strong and so potent.
You know, I might need some help with this one if you all want to try it. It's a little strong, not in the alcoholic sense, just in terms of the you just try it for yourself. And I pass it over to Luna.
Your sinuses are so clear.
she like takes a sniff of it and then takes a swig.
Yeah, same sensation. It's really strong and pungent and potent. But you are longing for heat. So having this extreme taste is like... It's not as bad as perhaps like Anu might be experiencing it, but it's definitely like strong.
Oh, wow. And hands it over to Benny.
Benny takes the glass and sniffs it a little bit and then takes a small sip, placing it back down on the bar. Oh, wow. This is so different. Does this grow here?
Yep. We are a root people.
Is there like an apothecary or a herbalist in town where I could buy more of the flora that's native to Smiklen?
Yep. You gotta go over to Sylve.
Sylve? Okay. And in location to where we are in the casket, are they closer to Grit's Forge, or do we have to wander further?
It's behind the forge on the opposite side of the street.
Amazing. Thank you. Benny's like visibly so excited about the prospect of already being able to find brand new plants to her.
So you guys finish up your food and maybe half finish The ginger beer, depending on how much Luna liked it and how you guys are feeling about consuming it, it's very strong. And you exit out back into the street, and the forge is pretty much just across from the tavern. So you guys start heading into there. You can kind of also, if you look up, see that there are smaller kind of like holes in the roof that look like they're providing ventilation, though they're not big enough for any sort of harsh winds to come in. They're big enough to make sure that the whole village doesn't get smoked out, because there is a lot of like fires going on. Like there's the forge, there's people cooking in their homes. It's a very lively and kind of dense area. So you head into the forge and you just start seeing this big gray orc with a leather apron on, and he's kind of like carving out this big slab of bone.
Excuse me, sir?
And he kind of like looks up at you from his work. Outsiders, what you want?
Yes. From 5 actually. Galvatona said that, for replacing, weapons. No, wait, it was Talia. Sorry. She pulls out her sickle and she places it on the counter. That you are the only one to see to upgrade me from this to, something that would be more appropriate for battle in this area, should we come across it while freeing the air spirit.
Talia is my very best customer, so I'm not surprised she sent you over here. He kind of gets up and starts appraising your sickle. It's not a bad metal, but it will never beat a worm bone.
That's why I'm here. It works okay, but the last time I used it, it was a little inefficient.
Are you looking for a dagger? Are you looking for a short sword or a long sword?
I don't know that I'm strong enough for a long sword, but a short sword, that would be amazing.
Very well. And he goes over to a corner and picks up this beautifully sanded, intricately carved, serrated short sword that is made out of worm bone teeth. And he plops it down very gently on the counter, or I guess work table, that's closest to the entrance, and says, Galvatona personally killed this worm. This is its tooth. These are the most incredible swords that have ever existed. I guarantee you that. I'll give this to you in exchange for your sickle.
That would honestly be an honor. But I can't help but, and not to talk myself out of a gift, but is my sickle really fair trade for something this magnificent?
If you want to throw in a gold as a tip, be my guest. Though this is northern metal, stronger than our metal, but not stronger than a worm bone.
I would personally feel more comfortable if you would take a gold as a tip. I'm glad that the sickle can be of use to you, but what you're giving me very well might save my life.
Then let it save your life and I'll take the gold.
And Benny reaches into her satchel and digs around till she finds her coin purse, and then she places 1 gold on the workbench in front of her, and then picks up the short sword and just admires it.
It'll do a lot of damage going in and going out.
This is amazing. Thank you so much.
I'm always happy to have the admiration of my clients.
You said that you had a dagger. I have my staff, but I suppose I should probably have something a bit more for protection.
Do you have any more of that northern metal?
I don't.
What else do you have to trade?
She digs in her bag, and she has a piece of garnet that she'd started carving, and holds that out.
That'll do, for a dagger. And if you want to give me a gold piece as a tip, I won't say no to that.
Yes, I can, yes, definitely. And she digs the gold out and hands that over as well.
He takes them both and walks over to the completed blades shelf and brings you out essentially the exact same blade as Benny's, just in a smaller size, and he places it delicately on the table. May it serve you well.
Thank you.
These worm bones, how do you, is there any sort of ritual that's done to cleanse them or to ease the passing of the worm into the next realm?
Absolutely not. Those buggers come and try and attack our soldiers while we're scouting out our tunnel system. We just kill them.
Right, but the tunnel system is the worm's home, correct?
It's our home too. And they're aggressive.
But no less than your scouts. I mean, to fight and to die is to live, really. And I don't know. At least where we're from, there's a sort of reverence given to that.
Life and death cycles are not... They're not solemn. We live until we die, and then when we die, we're dead. We celebrate the life, we don't mourn the dead.
Right, I understand that. I just wanted to ask. I was curious.
Of course. We burn the bodies, and we send them through smoke, through the little holes in the roof, back into the air.
That's quite lovely.
And then we feast, and we drink, and we celebrate. And then we always make sure that whatever weapon that they owned is carved with their name and put into a sort of hall of warriors, you could say.
Very, very interesting. Thank you for everything. Thank you for your help.
Of course. If you ever come back after going back north, bring me some more metal.
I would be more than happy to. Thank you. Again, Grit, this is phenomenal.
Anytime. And he goes back over to his work table, deeper into the room, and starts carving up the bones again.
Before we walk away, is there anything that you might want before I drag you to the Sylphs?
I think I'll be all right. You know, most of my strength comes from my spell casting, anyways. But I appreciate it. Let's head over to Sylphs and stock up on those delicious spices.
Yeah, so you guys exit the forge, and there's sort of gaps between the different buildings, so you can kind of like scoot through and then walk across the street, and you're at the apothecary. It is not a signed building. There is no indication that this is the apothecary, except for that it has a beautiful green what is the stone? A beautiful green agate rooftop. And you can just smell all of the different spices and herbs and roots that are coming from this building.
And closer to it, you guys, like, Benny's almost vibrating. She's so excited. And when she, like, gets within, like, the distance from the building to actually smell things, she actually is like, charges in the door, like, excitedly.
Yeah, so you guys pop in, and as you're entering, you can see that there are a bunch of different tables, all made out of clay. Really thick, sturdy stuff. It's not as if you could, like, smash it and break it just by, like, putting a strongly gesturing fist on it. Inside, you can see that there are a bunch of different wrapped stems of herbs, and it's all tied in like little strings, so there's little like bundles. There's also little clay bowls as well that have different loose spices in them, and you can see canvas sacks kind of piled beside each of the loose spices, and you can see all different colors. There's greens, there's yellows, there's oranges. It smells so incredibly strong in here, like sort of like a combination of multiple different scents of incense, and it's just like colors that you've never seen in your life. And you also see this red-scaled Yuan-ti kind of like slithering about the shop. She's sort of like tying new bundles of different herbs of different lengths. As you guys are kind of walking in, and she looks up at you with slitted eyes, and is like curious, but she seems to be the first one who hasn't really rebuked you outright. Obviously sans Braun, who was a manic little gnome, but she seems much more level-headed, but just kind of looks up. Hello, what brings you into my shop?
I'm Benny. I'm actually an alchemist from Philoven. And I would adore to purchase some of your herbs and spices, and if you have any potion recommendations, I would also love to hear about those as well.
Don't really do much brewing of potions in here, but we do have all the ingredients. I have saffron, turmeric, dill, thyme, rosemary. I also have paprika. I also have long stems of ginger root, turnip leaves.
I must admit, I have a little bit of a meager budget, because I don't know how long we'll be traveling for. But is there a way to get a little bit of everything?
Do you carry any specialty herbs from the north? Any specialty plant products?
Absolutely. I never leave home without my alchemy kit. I have different roots and barks, and actually recently I got flower petals for the first time ever. I would be willing to trade if you were okay with that.
I'll tell you what. Do you have oak tree bark?
An abundance.
I will take 4 strips of oak tree bark and a couple flower petals, and you can have a small sack of each of these herbs and half of a ginger root.
Deal. Just give me a second while I get that all organized for you. And Benny starts, like, sifting through her things, and she has, like, almost, like a leather roll that she pulls out and she lays across the counter, and you can see all manner of roots and barks and dried flora from the Philoven area. And she pulls out 4 strips of the oak bark and she sets it down gently on the side, and then she rolls that back up and she pulls out that little vial of flower petals and she shakes out a couple, and then she looks back up to the Yuan-Ti who's being so generous, and she shakes out a couple more and sets them down gently next to the oak bark, capping the little vial and placing it back in her satchel.
She looks down at this assortment of flora and regards it with a very scrutinizing gaze that doesn't look like it's a negative kind of like scrutiny. It looks like an appraising scrutiny where she's assessing the quality and sort of the composition of each of these products, and then she goes around and slithers back to each of the different bowls and each of the different bundles and just grabs a little bit of each and puts them in this sort of canvas sack and hands it over to you. Says, "Pleasure doing business. If you have anything else that you ever wish to bring me, I will have stuff in return for you."
That's so generous. Thank you so much. I'm genuinely so excited to experience everything that you've given me. And she gently tucks the canvas bag into her satchel as well.
Enjoy. And then she goes back to her business. You guys exit her shop and are standing in the sort of middle of the street. Is there anything else you guys want to do in the town?
No, I think we have an adventure to embark upon.
Awesome. And so with all of your new weapons and your new goods and your preparation to head into this new treacherous adventure, we're going to end the session there.